Hi there, everyone. This is an educational webinar for clients of Pearl Planning, which is all about identity theft. I am thrilled to be joined by Brett Conlon. He is the Chief Information Security Officer for American Century Investments. American Century is an asset manager that we utilize in portfolios for Pearl, but today Brett is just coming here as a resource to talk with me about what you need to be aware of as a consumer and a client with financial accounts about cybersecurity and identity theft. Brett, welcome, and thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Melissa. I'm really excited about this.
So we are going to hand off the mic to you, and you have a presentation where you're going to share practical insights about how to be vigilant and protect yourself when it comes to fraud and cybersecurity. I know this information can feel a little bit concerning and alarming when you think about the reality of threats out there, but I want to assure you that having information and staying apprised and educated to me is like continuing education, which we do for ourselves in our company. We pay for cybersecurity awareness training as well as systems to protect our clients. And we wanted to get the same type of detail and information to you, which is why we asked Brett to join us. So without further ado, Brett, I'm handing over the mic. Let's get started.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who's joined in and is going to be listening to us. My goal here is to talk about something that's becoming increasingly important in what we'll call the digital age, and that really is identity theft and identity fraud. So my goal here is really to keep it simple and straightforward, and I want you all to leave here feeling informed and empowered. I do not want to overwhelm anyone. The most important thing to know when we're talking about identity theft and identity fraud is how it's occurring. And it really boils down to these scammers are targeting trust. So if we flip a few slides ahead, I'm actually going to, one more. It's important to note that identity theft occurs when someone steals your personal information. So think of this like, they stole your social security number or your credit card details, and their goal is to commit identity fraud. So identity fraud is the actual use of that stolen information when they're making unauthorized purchases, opening up new accounts, or even, hopefully not ever happens, but committing crimes in your name. So in the presentation today, I want to give you some reasonable advice to help really lower your risk of identity theft. And then should you find yourself to become a victim of identity theft, then we're going to talk about things that you can do to really either prevent or be proactive to stop the fraud, hopefully before it occurs or right when it occurs. So one of the things that everyone talks about is, well, what about all these tools that everyone's using? And should I stay off the internet? And, should I get rid of my smartphone? The scammer's greatest tool, they focus on psychology. Criminals are going to rely on two things, and they have nothing to do with technology. They're going to rely on urgency and emotion. And when we talk about emotion, it's going to be about fear, greed, or love. And so as we go through this presentation today, I really am going to talk to you about the scams that we're seeing, not the one-offs, not the ones that are, very unique and very hard to figure out, but the ones that we are seeing almost weekly. They are that common and people are that susceptible to being scammed on it. And so I'm going to walk you through some of those as we go through the common tactics and, figure out what we can do about it. So why ultimately you're listening to this podcast, why should you care? As retail investors, your financial information is extremely valuable to cyber criminals. So protecting your identity is crucial to safeguarding your investments and your financial well-being. You probably heard before, don't believe everything you read on the internet. And this is going to be tip number one, scammers don't wait for you to go online. They're going to come straight to you. They're going to contact you on your phone. They're going to try to get to your email and email you directly. And they're going to pretend to be someone you know. They're going to pretend to be your bank. And they might even pretend to be your child or your grandchild. And it's not a far off headline. It's real. It's very personal. And it's happening every day to people who think it would never happen to them. The scams are smart, they're fast, and they're terrifyingly convincing. And so they're focused on targeting people who were raised to be polite, trusting, and helpful, which is exactly why I'm here today to talk to you all about it. And some of the advice we're going to give you is counterintuitive to what we've sort of been taught our whole life, but it's going to help keep you safe. So an identity theft case happens every 22 seconds. And the common tactics are around data breaches, which we'll talk about here shortly, social engineering, phishing, fake websites, and lastly, physical theft. So if we start on the next slide with the data breaches, the big thing here to remember is on a data breach, this is typically outside of your control. This is a company that you've done business with. So think about, maybe you're a Marriott member, or maybe you belong to Costco or Sam's Club, or maybe you are doing business with AT&T or Verizon Wireless or Comcast. These companies needed certain information from you in order to set up your accounts, to bill you correctly. So they probably have your credit card account or the checking account. They might have your name and your social security number. And unfortunately, just as you are susceptible to becoming a victim of identity theft, large corporations often are susceptible to getting a data breach. And so with that, what happens is information is stolen. And then remember, we talked about identity theft versus identity fraud. So your information is now stolen, and the cyber criminal wants to take that and sell that information. What we want you to do is take action on that when you find out that you're a victim of identity or a data breach. So the first thing that we commonly see is when you do find yourself to be a victim of a data breach, most people do not take the free identity theft protection. So we absolutely want you to sign up for that. The next thing is most people do not really contact their financial institution. And I'm going to caveat that as well. When we think about a financial institution, a lot of the times everyone thinks about your checking account, your savings account, and they immediately go to either your bank or the credit cards that you have. A lot of the times we don't think about our advisors, but there are steps an advisor can take to help protect your accounts when you let them know that you've been a victim of identity theft. So we always ask that if you do find yourself to be a victim of a data breach, or you find yourself to be a victim of identity theft, immediately let your advisor know, because there are steps that they can take to help make sure that they have an extra flag on your account in case someone tries to use that information to try to withdraw funds. If we go to our next slide. So social engineering is probably the most popular form of identity theft and ultimately identity fraud. So remember, we talked about the scammer's greatest tools. They're going to focus on psychology, and they're going to use urgency and emotion. So what I want to give you some real world examples here, and I want to give you 3 specific real world examples that we've seen. And again, these are common, and these happen a lot. And they're very good at what they do. And unfortunately, they're very convincing at what they do. So the first one I want to give you is, I've run into this more times than I can count, but I got a call right before the holidays last year. And what had happened was a person that I work with, their mom had developed a relationship with someone online. So she was living alone, and she had developed a relationship with someone online, all normal things. And that person had offered to help her invest in crypto. The person gave her a website that she could log into, and the mom subsequently started withdrawing money and sending that money over to the person that they thought they were in a relationship with. That person was showing them all of the investment gains that they were making through the crypto exchange. So fast forward about 6 months, and this is going to bring up another important point. The mom had liquidated her entire life savings. She had provided this to this person that she was dating, who she never met in person. When she went to go get the money back, that person just disappeared on her. She went to the bank. Now, the bank, and this becomes very important, and I want you to talk to your advisor about this, is it's always important to have a trusted contact. And so if you don't have your trusted contact with your advisor, I urge you after listening to this to make sure that you have one. And if you don't have one, to give your advisor a trusted contact and make sure that you've made an introduction. And so let me tell you why that would have become important here. The bank kept telling the mom that the money was going overseas, that this doesn't sound legitimate, and that she should not be taking the money out. But ultimately, it is her money. And unfortunately, they tried to tell the mom where the money was going. She didn't believe it, or, she felt that the money was safe and going to the right person, and gave away her life savings. When she realized what had happened, the immediate thing that happened was she felt embarrassed. She felt ashamed at what she had done, and she didn't tell anyone. So that's another important thing. Whenever you find yourself to be a victim of identity theft, there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. This happens to everybody. It happens to the best of us. And the quicker you can let loved ones and law enforcement know, the better your chances are. In this particular case, they waited 6 months to let their children know what had happened. And at that point, there was nothing the FBI could do. I was brought in. I brought the FBI in. And unfortunately, there was just nothing that we could do to help recover those funds. So, the reality was now at the end of that year, they're looking at, how do they sell the house? How does the mom come and live with them? And it's a life-altering experience because she wasn't warned, and then she didn't have the appropriate steps that we're outlining today on what to do. The next sort of social engineering scam and phishing scam as well that we see is going to be what I'll call the midnight call. And so we've seen this, and this is another one where we are seeing this increase in what's happening here. And so what happened is we had a gentleman who was woken in the middle of the night, and they were told that their grandchild had been critically injured. And if they would need to wire money right away. And if they hang up, the child will die. So this is how they keep you on. They tell you that if you hang up, everything is going to go south. And they're telling you right now, imagine getting woken up at 3 a.m. You're not expecting a call. They're claiming to be first responders. They're saying that they know where your child or grandchild is, that they've been critically hurt, and that they need to be flown out, and they need money wired to them right away. At 3 a.m, you're not thinking that this is a scam. And what we have seen is people link their accounts, send about $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over. They think, they'll call in the morning, find out how things are going. And then they'll wake up in the morning and find out the rest of their money has been taken out of the account. The advice that we're giving is hang up the phone. Hang up the phone, call your loved one, call your child, call your grandchild. If you can't get a hold of them, call other people that might know where they are. And definitely, do not send the money over. And I know that seems extremely counterintuitive, and I know that seems scary, but I can't stress this enough. It's a scam. They're calling, they're asking you to move money urgently, and they're appealing to your love of your child and your grandchild. And that's how they're hoping that you won't hang up and that you will send that money over. Phishing we're seeing as well now with AI. We used to tell people, do you know the sender? Are they using this type of language? Are there spelling errors? All of that is out the window with AI. The biggest thing I can tell you around phishing is if you are not expecting an email from someone and they are asking you to open an attachment or click a link, don't. If they're asking you to click a link, go to the website directly. Don't click the link that they send you. If they're asking you to open an attachment, don't open the attachment. Instead, reach out to that person, whether it's through email or either phone calling them or use the email that you already have on record with them. Don't reply to the email that's sent to you. Sometimes it looks so similar, but it's actually a fake email address. And so what we're saying is if you don't expect it, you're not expecting a link, you're not expecting attachment, don't click on it, contact that person directly, go to the known website. I can't tell you how many times we see your Netflix password has been compromised. Please enter your username and password. It looks like their Netflix email. It looks like the Netflix website, but it's all fake. If we go to the next page, which brings us to fake websites. Fake websites is something that we're seeing pop up a lot. It is an area that it only costs about $3 to have a completely fake website stood up. And these are the links that get sent to your text message, and these are the links that get sent to your email. And so again, if you're not expecting a link and someone's asking you to reset your password, someone's asking you to update critical information, do not click on the link that they send you. Go directly to the website itself. Remember a rule of thumb, and we talked about earlier, is the criminal is going to reach out to you. So if you didn't reach out to them and they're all of a sudden telling you to reset a password, they're asking you to update some critical information, we want you to not click the link, go directly to the website, call the number there, and make sure it's legitimate. We see a lot of fake package sites pop up, claiming to be FedEx, claiming to be UPS all around the holidays. So again, $3 on the dark web is all it takes for them to create a website that looks like the real thing. If we go lastly to physical theft. So what I tell people here is just be diligent and mindful about what you're carrying with you on a day-to-day basis. There's no reason that you should have your social security card with you on a daily basis. Think about all the credit cards that you travel with, all the debit cards that you're traveling with, and do you need them all on a daily basis? And then what do you need if you're leaving the state? Do you need all of those credit cards, all of those debit cards, or can you take a fraction of that? And then if you're going overseas, can you take even less than that? And then you don't need both your ID and your passport, right? So this is just good things to know just in case we lose our purse or our wallet while we're traveling, or we forget it somewhere, or, heaven forbid it gets stolen. We want the ability to have some sort of form of identification back at our house that someone can ship to us if we need it. So definitely just be mindful about what you're carrying with you on a day-to-day basis, and be mindful about what you carry with you when you're traveling. Okay, so we're going to flip through a couple different, one more and one more. So what can we do to protect ourselves? So now I've sort of laid out, these are the common schemes and scams that you can expect. What can we do to protect ourselves? And I'm going to talk to you about two specific things that are going to reduce your risk of becoming a victim of identity theft by almost 99%. It's that effective. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about fake websites and phishing emails again and scam calls. So if we go to the next slide, the first thing we're going to talk about is a password manager. So before I got on this call today, I looked at my password manager and I had 240 different usernames and passwords. If you think about today, everything requires a username and password. Your Shoppers Club username and password, your bank account, your your warehouse membership, your wireless membership, your internet and cable, email addresses, all the financial institutions that you log into, all of them require usernames and passwords. So what do we see people do? A lot of them either reuse the same password, or they write down on a sticky note, or they save it somewhere on their computer. Here are all my usernames and all my passwords. And what we want you to do is start using a password manager. And the reason for that is a password manager securely stores your information in one central place. It requires you to remember one password. And password managers come a long way from when they came out. I personally use a password manager. My whole family uses it. When you go to the website, the password manager can automatically detect whether I'm on my phone or on my laptop or on an iPad or wherever. It can detect that I'm on a website that I have a password to, and it will fill that information in automatically. It will let me know if I have a password that's been compromised, which means it's been breached somehow. So remember, we talked about data breaches. A password manager will let me know, and it will help me change the password. Password manager will let me know if my password is too weak, and it will recommend a strong password. It'll also let you share your passwords with people securely. So if I have accounts that both my wife and I need to get into, I simply create a group and put those passwords in there, and now she can securely access them. And again, she can't see the password. She can just log into the website because it auto-fills the username and password there. So password managers are a must, and they're so important now. Even the cell phone companies like Apple and Google and so forth recognize the importance, and they're building in password managers into their devices. So if you use an iPhone, there's something called a passwords app, and that will sync all of the passwords between your computer, your cell phone, and it'll also sync to if you're using your a Chrome web browser or Safari web browser. All of that is available, and it syncs it securely. And then you only have to remember one difficult password, and the rest of them are auto-generated. I can't tell you of the 240 usernames and passwords I have, I can't tell you a single password. They're all auto-generated. They're all very difficult to guess. And if anything ever happens with them, I immediately get alerted, and I can change the password pretty easily. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a password manager. If we don't have an Apple phone and we don't like the ones that the Androids offer, there's another one called Bitwarden, Bitwarden. That's one that I used in the past before Apple came out with theirs. And I think it's like $5 or $10 for the year, syncs between 7 different devices, and you can share it with your family. So again, password manager is going to be the first step. We go to the next slide. All right, multi-factor authentication is going to be the second step. So I have heard every reason under the sun as to why people don't like multi-factor. It's annoying. They hate the 6 digits that they have to enter. Sometimes they don't have their phone on them. And, it would be a whole lot easier if they just didn't have it. But let me tell you how important having multi-factor is on your account. And you don't need it on all of your accounts, but your critical accounts, which we'll talk about here shortly. Multi-factor is like the deadbolt on a door. And if you look at this, bad guys, cyber criminals going door to door and trying to see if they can open up a door. And when the deadbolt's there, they walk away and they go to the next house. And the reason they do this is because so many people still, to this day, don't put deadbolts or multi-factor on their accounts. And therefore, the bad guy would rather just go to the next house and take their chances on that house not having a deadbolt. Because most people don't put multi-factor on their accounts. The bad guys will just bank on that and usually leave your account alone. And what's ironic about that is if they're able to get into your account because you didn't put multi-factor on it, the first thing that the bad guy does is they put multi-factor on the account. And the reason they do that is because they know it'll take you longer to get access into your accounts again. And by the time you do get access, they will have taken everything out of there. So I can't stress enough, and I will give you a real world example of if I told everyone here that's listening, tonight you'll lose over $500,000 of savings because you didn't put multi-factor on your account. All of you would probably go in there and put multi-factor on your account. But that is exactly the type of money we've seen lost because people didn't put multi-factor on the account. They received a call. They believed they were getting something. And while they went to a website that a link was sent to them, the bad guy was immediately taking what the username and password that was entered and putting it into the real website, where they then put multi-factor on, and they were able to change all the information. And so that person didn't know that money was getting withdrawn from their account. Multi-factor is so important. So where should you put multi-factor on your accounts? Every financial institution that anywhere you have money, multi-factor, and email. So anywhere there's money and email, but multi-factor on your account. This means you're going to get alerted if someone tries to change the email address. This means you're going to get alerted if someone tries to change the address itself, a phone number, a routing number, or they try to connect bank accounts. And it's going to stop them if they don't have the ability to verify the multi-factor PIN. So I can't stress enough, multi-factor, 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 absolutely important. You should be making sure it's on any account with money plus your email account. Let's go ahead and do the next slide. So reducing your digital footprint. The biggest thing here is just be careful about what you are presenting online. And what I mean by that is, probably not a lot of you are on social media. And if you are, be careful about what you post and who you tag and who you accept invites from. So you'll find people will go out there and look for certain ages and say, okay, I'm going to act like, I grew up near you and you just don't remember me. Going to look to see how many kids or grandkids you might have. And I'm going to say I have the same amount. It's very easy for someone to create a, profile of another person just by looking online. So when we post photos, think about not tagging the exact location that you are. Think about not tagging all your family members in them so that people can't figure out who, the kids are and the grandkids are, so that you don't get that 3 a.m. call. Just be careful about what you're posting online. And then there are services out there today like Delete Me and Forget Me, I think is the other one, that allows you to go on there and scrub your digital presence. So if it's, hey, you signed up for these memberships years and years ago, they're not logged into anymore, they'll make recommendations to delete those accounts. They'll help you delete those accounts. And that helps you lower your risk of becoming a victim when there's a data breach. There's nothing more annoying than, not having had AT&T for 10, 15 years, but finding out they had your information, you never closed your account, and now you were the victim of a data breach because you had an AT&T account there. So if maybe if we move states, move locations, switch shopping clubs, all of those things, make sure that we delete the old account. Go to the next slide. So fake websites, just remember, they're very hard to spot. A lot of the fake websites do not have a contact us page. We are starting to see some with fake that have contact us, but most of them do not have contact us today. The biggest way to avoid a fake website is just go to the website directly. Make sure you typed it in directly. Don't click the link. That's the best way to do it. So to believe it or not to believe it, I know it's very hard in this day and age to figure out what's true and what's not. Scams have common problem themes. There's a problem with your account, but there's a dispute with your tax payment, but you won the lottery, but. So they all have a problem, and now all those problems can be resolved by paying large sums of money, which are often in Bitcoin, and they can make them go away. So there's a problem with your account, but if you send this amount by this date, they can fix it. And remember, they're not going to get off the phone with you. They're going to want to make you stay on the phone. There's a dispute with your tax payment, but pay this immediate fee and we'll make the tax problem go away. You won the lottery, but to get your winnings, We want you to go ahead and link your accounts to make your deposit. And what's going to happen is you're going to link your accounts and they're going to take your money. So legitimate agencies will never ask you for money urgently or threateningly. No one legitimate is going to call and say your kid is going to die if you don't pay this money right now. If you fall victim to a scam, stop the payments immediately. Tell your bank, tell your advisor, tell your loved ones, tell your trusted contact what's happened, and stop the payments immediately. Notify your bank, notify your financial advisor. I can't stress that enough. Too many times we see them stop at notifying the bank and they don't let the advisor know. And there's so many steps an advisor can take that can help better protect your assets. Report the scammer to the FTC. The FTC has an online form you can fill out. And then remember, we always want to update our passwords, and we're going to use the password manager to do that. So, important steps to take if you do find yourself to be a victim of identity theft. Number one, we're going to contact our financial institution. That includes our advisor. We're going to close any fraudulent accounts that were opened up in our name. We're going to place a fraud alert on credit reports. Credit reports and credit score are not the same thing. The 3 major credit bureaus offer a free credit report every year, and you can choose when you want to run it. I always do it around tax season, but I suggest that you take advantage of that and make sure that all the accounts that they have records of are accounts that you're aware of. We're going to get a password manager, and we're going to change our passwords, making sure they're unique across all the accounts. Create an identity theft report. Your local police office has templates now that will help you do that. Order copies of the credit reports, which we just talked about, and then we're going to capture everything that we've done in writing. So, over the time we've talked about this presentation, 60 more victims impacted by identity theft. So remember, we want you to trust your own instinct, be your own advocate, slow down, and act immediately if you do find yourself to be a victim. So I have a 3-letter acronym called the PVP. Pause. So we're going to take a minute and think about what's going on. Verify. So we're going to verify the person we're talking to. And that's not by asking them questions on the phone. We're going to hang up and we're going to call back a good number. If we are meeting someone and dating someone online, we are going to verify they're real by actually meeting them in person. If they don't want to meet you in person, we're going to walk away. And lastly, protect. We're going to protect ourselves. We're going to get a password manager. We're going to enable MFA. And we're going to let our loved ones know if we do find ourselves to be a victim of identity theft. We are going to protect ourselves.
Thank you, Brett. I so appreciate it. I think there's so much information that you provided that, is just really important for people to consider. And I want all of you listening to just commit to being proactive. That protecting yourself requires action, but those actions are often immediately available, like not skipping over the MFA offer when you're on a website, or just taking the action to set up. We use Bitwarden ourselves here at the company as well. So I encourage everyone to take one positive step of being proactive in protecting your identity and preventing fraud. And then please do make that phone call when you find out that if or when you find out that something adverse has occurred. It's always most helpful if we know, and know, when we have requests of you, for example, if you request money from us, we require a verbal authentication, which can, a phone call, which can be, an extra bump in the road when you're busy, but that's part of that slow down. So remember that there's a method to the madness when it comes to preventing and protecting. Brett, thanks so much for joining us.